Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. Daryl here, going to give you a quick lineup of today's show. We'll start out with some Husker news. The Husker Softball team will be at home for a 3-game series Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Major League Baseball has started. We'll discuss a little MLB. Football news, NFL, XFL, and USFL. The NHL is getting closer to its playoffs. Playoffs start April 17th for the NHL. NCAA Final Four. Fun Final Four. Florida Atlantic versus San Diego State. Miami battles UConn. The NBA. There were a couple last night games for the NBA that could potentially affect the playoff seeds that are coming up. The Pelicans took on the Nuggets. And the Celtics battled the Bucks. Looking at a Sunday game, the 76ers will be in Milwaukee for a game against the Bucks. We'll look at a Tuesday game with the Celtics on the road at the 76ers. And now, here's our show. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a Friday edition of Blue Collar Sports Talk. No James. He's on a fun little vacation. We got Roger.
Hello.
And me, the Daryl. Let's kick off with some Husker softball. So before we started recording, you were talking about, they're not in the top 25.
No, what I've seen, they have a 32nd ranking. They're outside the top 25. 24-10 on the year. We're 4-0 at home. So we've played
some tough talent already.
We've played 30 games outside of our building, but we're 4-0 at home. We got a three-game homestand against Michigan this weekend. So
yeah, I saw that they moved today's game, Friday's game, was supposed to be a night game, and then they moved it up to what was that? 3 p.m. today, because it's supposed to get colder tonight.
Okay. So, yeah, I kind of just looked at some of their little accolades or whatever you want to call them, and 4-0 at home and 4-1 in the conference.
Our junior Billy Andrews, she leads the Big Red right now in offense. She has 11 home runs, 42 hits, and 31 runs. And Caitlin Kaneda leads the team with a .398 batting average. So they seem to be getting it done. I did notice Saturday's game, I think, is on, let's see here.
BigTen network.
Both of them. Let's see. Fridays is bigtenPlus. Saturdays is BigTen. And then Sundays should be on NET, Channel 12 or whatever you want to call it. Yep. Depending on where you're at. And I found out that you can watch NET online, even if you're not watching it on TV. So Huskers.com is a great place to go check that out.
Yeah, we've played some pretty good teams this year in some of these early tournaments. And we've kind of fell short on that aspect. We're 1-7 against ranked teams, but
but we've played some of the best teams out there, haven't we?
Yeah, we've played some pretty good teams. So
Oklahoma State was ranked 5th. UCLA was ranked 2nd. Virginia Tech 8th.
Yeah.
Arkansas 4th. And then we played Oklahoma State again. I mean, we've been tested early with some of the top talent in the country. So
what to say?
Keep going after them, girls. I say, I think Michigan.
Baseball, softball, it's a long season, a lot of games. Just keep it going, and maybe at the end of the year we'll be better. We'll be clicking.
I think we will. We've got a great roster and we've got a great coach. So continue on with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to switch gears to the NFL. Everybody seems to be talking about either Lamar Jackson recently or Aaron Rodgers. And it's crazy that you as a player can request a trade.
Yeah.
And everything I'm reading, it's kind of a tactic to get more money. So Lamar Jackson's a little miffed that he doesn't get the same money that Deshaun Watson got with the Browns, and that's why he's asking for a trade. And every article that I've read said the Ravens really don't want to lose him, and there's no other team that wants to do the legwork and put in a trade request because they don't want to do the legwork for the Baltimore Ravens on finalizing a deal for him. So no one's really showing any interest.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't quite get the whole franchise tag on a player, and then some team can come get him as long as they're willing to give up 2 first-round picks. Yeah, I don't know where that all comes into play. I don't, so I does that mean that if a team says, "Hey, Ravens, we got 2 first-round picks, give us Lamar," then the deal's done? I mean, the Ravens can still say, "No, we don't want your first-round picks." I don't know.
It's a little confusing because they
Yeah.
tried to give him the tag, the franchise, non-exclusive tag or something like that. But that could all change. NFL draft right around the corner, April 27th. And all the teams that might need a quarterback that might be interested in Lamar could just say, we'll find somebody in the draft. So
Yeah. Last thing I seen was Lamar really doesn't want to play for the $32 million that they're offering him through the franchise tag. So, maybe he sits out. Maybe
I don't see him sitting out.
I don't know.
I
like I said, every team's like playing the. Nah, we're just moving on. We're moving on. But I don't quite believe all that.
I don't believe it either. I truly believe it's Lamar Jackson looking at all the other quarterbacks and specifically the Deshaun Watson deal that had a fully guaranteed $230 million. So as Lamar Jackson sits there and looks at all these other salaries, how can you say, "Hey, I was MVP. Give me MVP money"?
Yeah, if he doesn't get traded before the draft, I mean, what kind of ratings is a draft going to get at first? I mean, is everybody going to be watching it because they assume something's going to happen? I don't know. It's kind of weird.
And then the Aaron Rodgers thing with the Pack.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that it's almost a done deal with the Jets, but no exact contract details.
That's all I hear too is Jets. I haven't heard anything about anybody else. So.
Right. So honestly, the way I feel, it really doesn't even matter to talk about where Aaron Rodgers is going until he finally signs something. I feel that the Packers are kind of over it. The honeymoon's over after how many seasons?
Yeah, I think the Packers don't care. He's done with the Packers. They're ready to go with Jordan Love. So,
NFL isn't the only football organization out there. XFL is in week 6 or 7?
Yeah, it'll be week 7 coming up.
And there's one team that's still undefeated, the DC Defenders. They're in the north. And the next best team is in the south. That's Houston at 4-2. Actually, there's a couple teams that are 4-2. Houston and St. Louis. Houston is at home against the 4-2 St. Louis this weekend. And then DC battles 0-6 Orlando. So there's plenty of football to be watched, even though the NFL isn't going on. I will say that I haven't watched any. I mean, maybe more than a minute and looked at some stats.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any names that look familiar to me. I think it's a lot of practice squad guys.
Yeah. I sat down Monday night. XFL had their first Monday night football game. And I watched the DC against Houston. And it started out as a really good game, and then it kind of got a little sloppy. Houston had several penalties in a row, and DC capitalized on them. And scored like 26 unanswered points and end up beating them. One guy got a unsportsmanlike penalty, got kicked out of the game. Another guy squirted the ref with a water bottle from the sideline, so he got penalized. I mean, it turned into kind of a sloppy game there, and it was like in a really short period too. All this happened like within like 4 or 5 minutes of like the second quarter. It was just crazy.
Oh wow.
But yeah, DC ended up beating them. Houston didn't quit. I mean, they scored a couple more times. 37-26. That's kind of a high-scoring game for XFL.
It is.
But yeah, they had 12 penalties, and DC only had 3, and that was the difference. Was the penalties.
I think counting this week, there's 3 more weeks left, and then they start
4 weeks.
4 weeks
starting this week. Yeah, they play 10 games. Seattle Sea Dragons was the team that beat Houston a couple weeks ago, and now they've won 4 in a row. So they're coming up. Only 4 teams go to half the teams go to the playoffs. Then they play 2 semifinal games and then the championship. So
yep, championship game is scheduled for May 13th. I think.
Yeah, it's pretty short season. Less than 4 months, and then
the other one that's out there besides the NFL and XFL is USFL. And I did a little reading. I didn't realize this is already their second season.
Yes, I played last year. Yeah.
Former Cowboy fullback Daryl Johnston is the executive VP of football operations, and trying to be a marketing guru. He was quoted as saying they have a schedule of 10 weeks of highly competitive games. Their opening game will be on Fox April 15th. So the XFL and USFL will overlap a little bit. And James brought this up in the past too. It's tough for them to bring in more fans when you're up against the NCAA Final Four and NBA playoffs. But for true fans of just playing football, it's something to watch, and it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, it is, and like I said last week, St. Louis is kind of crazy with their fans. I mean, they're putting 30,000 fans in the seats. This Houston DC game had less than 20. So I don't know how many fans are going. And I don't know. I've never looked at ticket prices, but I'm sure it's way cheaper than an NFL game. So, it's football. Kids enjoy it.
Plus,
if you can take your kids, to a football game and only spend $100 rather than $1,000, I mean, that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. And from a player outlook, you only get to play practice ball, and you're always getting beat up by the first team. Now you have a chance to go out and play some people maybe at your caliber and your level, and you get to be on TV. Mm-hmm. So I understand why their players are having fun doing it. So keep it going. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's football, and there's a lot of football fans out there. So, yeah, play all year long. 46 of the 52 weeks now. So,
should we? Let's move on. Shall we talk some opening day baseball?
Yeah, I was able to watch a little bit before heading to work yesterday, and it was actually the Braves. Started at noon, so I watched a few innings and then got in my car and drove to work and listened to a few more. But they won. Braves won opening day.
Yeah, Braves were on the road at the Nationals.
At the Nationals, yes.
And weren't they up early, like 4-0 almost?
I think it was 1-0 after the first inning, and then I think they might have scored 2 more in the second or third. So yeah, they got up early and they never fell behind. Washington scored a couple runs. I think it was 7-2 final. So
you're right. Yeah, 7-2. Atlanta jumped quickly. They scored 3 runs in the second.
Yep.
And then added another in the fourth, and then 3 more in the ninth to kind of finish them off. I did notice your Braves lost one of their pitchers, Max Fried.
Yeah, he left after 3 1/3, hamstring issue, I guess. So
Yeah, trying to run over to cover first, they said. So
yeah, I guess I was listening to it on the radio at that time. I don't know exactly what happened, but yeah, he left the game, and they said hamstring issues, and I haven't seen what they've done with him yet. But the coach said that he believes he will probably land on the disabled list or IR or whatever they call it now. But yeah, this was the first time in first time since 1968 where every team played on opening day. So, which is what they're supposed to do. I mean, it's opening day. You'd think every team should play. I mean, they play 162 games. I don't know why you wouldn't put them all on opening day. And they did this year. So, yeah, that was cool.
And then James's Yankees also played. They jumped all over the Giants.
Yeah, Judge has got his first home run already.
First at bat, cranks one out of the stadium.
Yep.
The other news that I found interesting on opening day is Ohtani. So to try to foil people from stealing signs, they have what's called the PitchCom thing, and it's kind of like a remote button push. And 9 times out of 10, it's the catcher that has it. And then there's a tiny little speaker in the pitcher's hat, and they hear what it is. So it's flipped because apparently Ohtani has so many pitches, it would take forever for him to shake off no and finally agree on a pitch. So he calls his own pitches, and he has it strapped to his shoulder. And since he can't see it, I read that he has to memorize exactly where all the buttons are. And then the catcher is told what he's gonna throw. So it's a little backwards as far as pitching and catching, and typically, I mean, am I wrong? Isn't it typically the catchers that's telling you what to throw?
Well, yeah, the catchers in the past would usually look into the dugout and kind of get kind of an idea too, So, but yeah, I assume when a pitcher's on, the catcher kind of gives him the sign for his best pitch, and then the pitcher just be like, yeah, that's what I'm throwing. Just keep giving me that sign. But yeah, I don't know exactly how they communicate, with signs and all that. But, I know they used to look in, get the sign from the manager, then go that route. But I'm pretty sure your ace pitchers kind of got an idea what they're going to do. If it's working, we're not changing it, so we'll just go with it.
Okay, so I want you to think that you're the pitcher, all right? You're Ohtani. You throw 6 shutout innings. You have 93 pitches thrown. You strike out 10 guys, just 2 hits, and you threw, you walk 3, 55 strikes. You leave in the 6th, and then you end up losing 2-1. Doesn't that make you feel a little infuriated that the rest of your team couldn't rally around you and get it done?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's happened in the past. There's just so many great pitching performances where they end up with a loss, or no decision. And yeah, you're just like, man, I've seen Randy Johnson pitch a whole year like that. I think he had I'll just say 12 wins on the year, and you're like, man, you should have had 24.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
The other thing too, because they swapped roles, Ohtani was calling his pitches, and thanks to the pitch clock, that's why they did it, because they don't have all the time in the world. You have, 35 seconds to get it thrown?
20 seconds.
Okay.
Well, it's 15 seconds when there's no runners on.
Oh, okay.
If there's a runner on,
Wow.
It's 20.
I was way off. I doubled it plus 5 seconds. Okay,
Yeah.
so 15 seconds. It's not a lot of time to get your pitch, to get your windup, to get set. And
yeah, and then the batter has to stay in the box, and he can't be looking around. He has to be glued to eyes on the pitcher at 8, or else he'll get dinged for a strike. I didn't see too much controversy yesterday except for one, the Mets. Jeff McNeil was up to bat, fouled off a pitch. So he's down 0-1. Well, Pete Alonso took off running on that pitch. Must have had a hit and run going. Well, then Alonso's standing on second base and he's like, oh, I got to retreat back to first. Well, he just walked. He didn't hustle back to first. He just walked. Well, the umpire stepped out from behind home plate and called whatever on him, delay a game, and ding Jeff McNeil for another strike because Alonso didn't return to first base fast enough.
And that struck him out, didn't it?
No, he was 0-2. He ended up getting a hit. So it didn't hurt nothing. But yeah, he went from 0-1 to 0-2 just because Alonso didn't hurry back to first. But I'm sitting there thinking, he steps away from home plate, calls a strike, and then he explains it to Jeff McNeil why he dinged him for a strike. Well, then the manager wants to come out and have an explanation. So all this going on, I mean, we're wasting 1 minute, 2 minutes of playing time over an argument that was a few seconds, I mean, Pete Alonso he could have ran back to first.
That's interesting. So the batter gets dinged for the runner taking his sweet time.
Returning back to first. And that's the first time I've ever seen that. I didn't hear about that in spring training or anything. So,
and then I also read Cubs starter Marcus Stroman was called for a pitch clock violation during the third inning, and he took too long to deliver on a 1-2 pitch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it'll be. I think there'll still be some growing pains for the players, even though they played with it during spring ball. I feel that it's kind of at spring ball, we don't really care. But now that the season starts, I think we'll probably have a few more issues with it.
I like I said, I don't know what's going to all come out of it. But what if the umpire, says, okay, you had a violation, and you continue to argue with him, and he's just goes back to his stand behind the catcher doing his job, and he's like, okay, well, now I'm going to ding you for another one. Quit arguing. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where this. I don't know where this is gonna. If it's gonna cause too much stuff going on. But yeah,
I never even thought about that. Yeah, if they're going to continue the clock, you can't argue with them.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
it's way too early to give odds for the World Series, but I read some. So the Astros are favored at plus 600. Right under them are the Braves at plus 700. And I listened to a little bit of the Braves broadcast yesterday, and they said the same thing. Last year, the Braves were favored to get there, but then they had so many injuries that it was tough for them to do it. So right under the Astros at getting back into the World Series are the Braves at plus 700. And then the Yankees at plus 750. And then the Phillies, who were there last year, are at plus 1,300. So,
yeah.
And again, way, way, way too early. But
yeah, and like
it's
I said,
fun to guess.
I had some odds written down here too, and like I said, all the sports books are kind of different. But yeah, I have the Astros at plus 600, and then like the Mets, Yankees, Dodgers, Braves, Padres, they were all about the same. They were all about plus 700. So yeah, there's plenty of teams, but. A few things I've written down about the MLB this year is they changed their the scheduling. This year is the first time that every team will play everybody. You'll play every team at least once. They cut down they made a more balanced schedule is what they did. They cut down your division games from 76 to 52. And then they have 64 intra-league games, which means you're playing the teams in your league out of your division. There's 64 of them. And then they up the interleague games from 20 to 46. So now you're playing, a little more than, about 30% of your games against the American League, interleague games. So.
Am I looking at this wrong? Doesn't that then make your league play games that much more important because that determines your seeding in your conference or your division?
Well,
didn't I hear you right? You said it cut down on the division games?
Yeah, division. You're playing your division opponents only 13 times a year instead of 18. Now, me personally, I always liked the unbalanced schedule where you play where you play your teams in your division more.
Yeah.
That way it just kind of, to me, it just seems like, well, if the Braves beat up on the Mets and the Phillies, then they prove that they're the division winner. I just like the unbalanced schedule myself. I like playing the teams in your division more, but they kind of went down this year and they went with the more balanced schedule, and you're playing more teams, playing more interleague games. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what they say about it during the year. This ain't the first time they've done it. Many years ago, before interleague play, they tried the unbalanced schedule and the balanced schedule, and it all plays out. It all plays out in the end. So, postseason, there's 12 teams this year. Again, like last year. Last year was the first time they did that. The top 2 seeds get a bye. Again, I don't like that. I mean, you play baseball every day, all year long, for 6 months. And now, because you're the best team, you go sit down for 5 to 7 days.
That changed, right? It was just the top seed. Now it's the top 2 seeds.
Last year they started this. The top 2 seeds get a bye. But like I said, I in baseball I don't like the bye because, like I said, you're used to playing every day.
Yeah,
and now
throws
all
off
of a
your
sudden,
rhythm.
Oh God, we beat everybody, and so now we get to sit back for 5 to 7 days. I don't like that, but it is what it is. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how this all these rules play out with the pitch clock, and they rave that this only being able to throw over twice is going to benefit the base runners. Because on that third time they throw over, they better throw him out. Otherwise, he gets awarded second base automatically. So he's going to get a bigger lead. Stolen bases are going to go up. We'll see.
That's some interesting salesmanship right there, because the league is trying to sell the players on this idea. In my humble opinion, the only reason the league did this was to sell more advertising, because it shortened the game. In a longer game, you might have more advertising, and in a shorter game, it allows you to have more games in a shorter amount of time. So I feel that it was a salesmanship to the owners and the players we're going to have a shortened game to have potentially more revenue for us, but I don't know.
But yeah, like I said, it's a long season. We'll see how it plays out. I think it'll be fun watching guys out there trying to steal more bases. I always like the stolen base. So,
speaking of stealing, so I don't think that anyone has stolen a win from the Bruins in the NHL this year. We'll talk about some NHL. The Bruins are just on an amazing streak, and they're still slated to break some records for the season. Just doing an amazing job of just handling almost everybody in the league.
Yeah.
The playoffs are approaching. The Vegas Knights and the Colorado Avalanche appear to be peaking at the right time. I read in the last 10 games they're both 8-2. Vegas did play last night, although I think they lost. So I think that makes them 7-3 now. Because I looked at that yesterday before they played, and then Boston was 7-3 in the last 10 games. So if you like hockey, now is a great time to watch because they're starting to turn it on, starting to gel right before the playoffs.
Yeah, I seen Boston won last night, and that win actually put them right on track to basically tie the points record, and put them in position to break the wins record with 62, which is set by the Red Wings and the Tampa Bay Lightning, who just did it a couple years ago. So yeah, it looks as if, and it won't be easy because Boston has to win 5 of their next 7 games to get to 63. And they can only afford to lose one game the rest of the year if they want to break that points record. So it's not going to be easy. They can the way I read it is they can either go 6-1 and no ties, no overtime losses, or they can go 5-0-2 with 2 overtime losses to break the points record. So yeah, they can do it, but they can basically Jesus, can't talk today. They can only afford to lose one more game. So it won't be easy. It won't be easy at all.
No, it definitely won't. There are some games scheduled here coming up, but nobody right now is really on that great of a winning streak. Everybody's kind of the tops right now. Just looking at the standings, the best is 3, and that's Edmonton in the Pacific. And prior to winning the other night, Boston lost one. So again, you're trying to get to the top seed to try to have an easier path to the Stanley Cup finals. But just because you have the best record doesn't mean you get there. A couple of years ago, Colorado had the best record and they got bounced in the first round. So we'll see.
Yeah, in the Eastern Conference, I've seen that there are 5 teams that have already clinched the playoffs. In the Western Conference, and there's only 7 games left in the NHL season. There's only one team that's clinched the playoff, and that's the Las Vegas. So yeah, that's a pretty tight conference. Minnesota Wild, who's winning the division right now, could if they actually went on a losing streak, they might fall out of the playoffs. I mean, that's how tight the West is. It's crazy.
It is crazy because Minnesota is the top in the Central, but Vegas is 46-22, and then Edmonton in the Pacific is 44-23, tied with Minnesota in the Central, and LA is 43-22. And like you say, if the Wild just happen to have a hiccup and their opponent gets a late goal, and that could be devastating to their season to get knocked out this late in the season.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I mean, they just a couple more wins, they'll be in. But yeah, it's just to me, when I saw there's only 7 games left, and I'm like looking, and yesterday I was looking at it, and no team. Vegas actually clinched a division spot last night, even though they lost, because the other teams lost too. But yeah, only one team's clinched a playoff in the West. So yeah.
April 17 playoffs start, round 1 NHL. So fun time. And talking about playoffs, let's talk about some NCAA Final Four action.
Yeah, kind of a fun little tournament this year.
And the only Nebraska native that is there participating is an Omaha kid playing for the San Diego State.
Yeah.
There's no way that I'm going to pronounce his name right, so I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
All right, I lied. I'll try. Aguk Arop. I mean, I don't know. Aguek Arop. So he's a senior out of Omaha, 6'7", 225-pounder. Doesn't get a lot of playing time, but he still gets some. I mean, he had some minutes the last few games. San Diego State is favored by 3 over Florida Atlantic, and the overs are set at 131.5. Or at least they were yesterday. I haven't looked to see if they've updated anything. 31.5.
Yeah. Florida Atlantic, of course, is the, I guess we'll still call them the Cinderella story of this whole thing, which, they got they're fourth. They're the 4th team that they believe will win it all. They're a 9 seed. The lowest seed to ever win a national championship is Villanova as an 8 seed. So, I mean, we might see some history here if Florida Atlantic can get it done, win the whole thing as a 9 seed.
Oh, okay, looking back at Florida Atlantic's tournament here, Kansas State beat them by 3. Tennessee beat them by 7. Memphis beat them by 1. They've had some close games, and then San Diego State eked out a win against Creighton. I'll say dismantled Alabama late. Came back and won 71-64.
Yeah.
So I feel that this is going to be a great game. Two evenly matched teams, as long as both teams shows up and plays like they have previously.
Yeah. And the thing is these teams, all 4 of these teams have already basically went farther than what anybody expected. So I don't know. You think of it like that. They just go into these games. You got nothing to lose. Nothing to lose.
You really don't. And they play looser that way. Like, no one expected me to get this far. Well, I'm going to show you.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm rooting for Omaha.
I expect both these games to be really good. UConn's won their first 4 games by 15 points. So they've kind of ran over their opponents so far, but they ain't going to run over Miami.
I don't think they'll run over Miami.
They won't run them over. It'll be a good game.
Rick Pitino, when his team played him earlier, had mentioned to the coach in passing as they congratulated everybody, he's like, you have the pedigree to go all the way and win a championship this year.
Yeah.
So when a Rick Pitino says that to your coach and players, that really resonated with me going, wow, that says a lot when somebody that's coached that many different teams in a lot of different championship games and semifinals. But I agree with you, Roger. I don't think they're going to roll over Miami. I think Miami's going to give them a tough game.
Yeah. And UConn has won 4 national titles since 1999. So if they win it this year, that means in the last 25 years, they've won 5 national titles. That would be more. That'd be 2 more titles than any of the big dogs. Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas. They've already got more than them now. If they do it this year, then that means they'd have 2 more.
I know you said they're not going to run over Miami, but do you think there's a chance they have a game like they did against Gonzaga where they blow them out by almost 30 points?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, UConn's won their first 4 games by 15 points or more. But this game, I don't believe that's going to happen.
I was really shocked when Miami beat Texas.
I think Miami beats them. I do. I think Miami beats UConn. I think we're going to have a Miami. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say Florida Atlantic beats San Diego State.
Okay, so we're opposites. I'm going San Diego State. I'm going San Diego State and UConn. Yeah. And you're going Miami and Florida Atlantic.
Yeah. I like the Miami pick. The Florida Atlantic pick, I'm kind of just going off of I want them to win, But I think they can. So
I agree with you. I have to, in my mind, pick San Diego State just for the fact that we have an Omaha kid on their roster, and I want to have someone in the Final Four that's from Nebraska have a chance to play for a title.
Well, I'm taking both underdogs, too. San Diego State and UConn are favored, so.
There you go.
But that's been the tournament this year. The underdogs have been winning.
Oh, very
I mean, we wouldn't have 2 5 seeds, a 4 seed, and a 9 seed if there wasn't a bunch of upsets, so let's just keep the upsets going.
Very true. Upsets. Let's move on to the NBA. There was an upset last night that shocked me. So I haven't been able to watch a whole lot of Celtics games thanks to being at work. And last night was my day off. I pop on the Celtics and Bucks game. The Celtics were on the road in Milwaukee. And early, the Celtics had jumped all over the Bucks. When I first looked, they were ahead by 20-some points. And then the final score was 140-99. They had that team so frustrated, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, you got to be hitting. I don't know what Celtics shot. I didn't look at the box score, but to score 140 points against the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm assuming Celtics shot, 60% as a team?
56% overall, 51% from the three-point line, and Milwaukee shot 38% overall.
You're shooting 50% from three-pointers, and I assume they probably took, 50 shots, made 25 of them. I mean, there's 75 points right there, and that's over half your points. So, Yeah, I seen both games last night, blowouts. Pelicans kind of whooped up on the Nuggets, won by 19. So
107-88, and Jokic sat. So they're trying to rest him up to get ready for a deep playoff run. They say he had calf tightness. I feel it's one of those, hey, we need to rest you a couple days to try to get you at 100% before the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I get that. I don't think either loss by the Nuggets last night or the Bucks really is going to change anything going into the seedings of the playoffs, but it might do something to them psychologically, going, oh man, we just got whooped. What's wrong with us?
Yeah.
So the Bucks then are playing Sunday against the 76ers, and the 76ers are on kind of I don't know, a strong push towards the end of the season is what I'll call it. As of today, they're 50-26. As of today, Milwaukee's 55-22. But showing what the Celtics were able to do in Milwaukee, if you're a coach, if you're Doc Rivers, have your players look at this and go, this is what you need to do to frustrate Giannis. This is what you need to do to frustrate Middleton. Follow that and get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't watch any of the game, so I don't know what the Celtics, besides shooting well, what they did to hold the Bucks down to 99. Because you hold a team under 100, you did something right on the defensive end too. So, yeah, I don't know. I looked at the standings, and the NBA is just like the NHL. It's only 7 games left in the season before the playoffs start. Of course, NBA is a little different in their playoffs. They have a little play-in tournament for the final 2 seeds of the playoffs, and just looking at the team 7 through 10, you're just like, I don't know. I don't know who you root for. Is you got a bunch of 500 teams playing for the final 2 spots of the playoffs.
Okay, so bringing that up, your Atlanta Hawks, started in the play-ins 2-3 years ago and made it all the way to their conference finals.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't.
But I understand what you're saying. Right now, OKC, who can get it done any given night, the Los Angeles Lakers, who are up and down, but recently have been playing pretty decent.
Yeah,
Minnesota's playing really good here late in the season. In New Orleans, Brandon Ingram threw up a triple-double last night, and he's been kind of seemingly unstoppable. But also, Golden State, if they lose a couple, they're then in the play-ins.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. I know that it gets more teams involved, more fans watching. I don't see a play-in team making it, past the first round, especially when they got to play either Boston or Milwaukee in the East. In the Western Conference, it's Denver and is it Memphis 1 and 2?
Yeah, right now it's Denver 1, Memphis 2, and Sacramento 3. And between the Grizzlies and the Kings, there's only a few games between them.
So I don't know if a play-in team can unseed one of them top seeds. You got
I really think
the Miami Heat. Miami Heat's one team that seems to always make a little noise in the playoffs. Do you see them coming out of the playoff or the play-in and beating Boston or Milwaukee?
I honestly feel that Miami and Brooklyn could trade places. Currently, Miami is on a 3-loss streak right now. But I feel that Brooklyn and Miami could trade places. I feel that Miami would be out of the play-in and Brooklyn would be in the play-in in the last final games, because currently right now, as of today, Brooklyn's 41-35 and Miami's 40-37. So a couple wins by Miami and a couple losses by Brooklyn, they flip. I don't know what's going on with Miami. I don't know if they just can't consistently play in. The way they're playing now, I don't see them going far, even if they're not in the play-in.
Yeah.
Unless they can flip that switch on. But
yeah, I find it kind of interesting that Brooklyn is staying in that 6th spot. Losing 3 superstars and just saying, hey, we can still win without you.
So you call them 3 superstars. James called them the 3 big headaches.
Well, I'm just,
But I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It surprises me.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant complained about the starting lineup that he was with. He's like, at one point he was quoted as saying, I'm not surprised we lost today. Look who's surrounding me. And now that he's gone, those guys that surrounded him have stepped up and played really good ball. So in Brooklyn's last 10, they're 4-6. In Miami's last 10, they're 5-5. And that's why I think that those two could swap places, because if all it takes is Brooklyn to lose a few more, and Brooklyn would be in the play-in, which I think would be really tough for them to get out of. And in the West, Golden State is 6-4 in their last 10, and New Orleans is 7-3. So there's only one game that separates New Orleans and Golden State, and I think that would be unfortunate for Golden State, because that would one game on the road could be huge, and Golden State sits down. But I don't know. It's anybody's guess. It's anybody's guess. Final thoughts. I'm going to look at some Husker spring football. So the spring practices has started. I read that Casey Thompson has started practicing, but they've limited him due to him coming off of surgery to repair his shoulder. And for anybody who's out there that loves Husker football, circle on your calendar April 22nd, Matt Rule's spring game. So if you want more reason to look forward to April 22nd, the Huskers football spring game. I also did read a couple weekends ago, or maybe it was just this last weekend, we had over 20 recruits in town. Over 20. So I do know that Rule is working really hard with his staff to try to get some of the top talent in. And I know it's 5 months away yet, but August 31st is our actual real game, and it's in Minneapolis against Minnesota. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. I'm not saying Matt Rule in his first season can completely turn it around, because this is in the Big 12. This is the Big 10. It's tough. I know Matt Rule is a great coach. I know he didn't have that much of success in the NFL, but that's a completely different game. Where he's been with Temple, where he's been with Baylor, what he's done in the college ranks, I understand where Trev Alberts is in bringing him on. I hope he proves me wrong. I don't feel that we will be any better than 500 this first season with him. And I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. But we have a tough schedule. We truly have a tough schedule. We play some great teams in conference and out of conference.
Yeah. I haven't even looked at our schedule this year, but I know that the Big Ten West was terrible last year. And if it's terrible like that this year, and Matt Rule can just have us playing even decent, we can be better than a 500 team. So, we'll see. I mean, I really don't want to kind of bank our success on all the other teams being bad, but it'd be nice to see Nebraska win 7-8 games or something. I don't care if the teams are bad. I mean, winning's winning. It just gets people fired up.
Winning's contagious.
Yeah,
but so is losing. So that's why I want to get that bad taste of losing season after losing season after losing season out of my mouth. So a quick look at our upcoming schedule for this year. On the road, Minnesota. On the road, Colorado. At home, Northern Illinois. At home, Louisiana Tech. At home, Michigan. At home, Illinois. At home, Northwestern. at home Purdue. So we have a lot of home games back-to-back. Then it's at Michigan State, back home for Maryland, on the road to Wisconsin, and back home for Iowa. So Minnesota has a great coach. Colorado is a 50-50 game because you bring in a whole brand new coach, whole brand new staff, but it's 50-50 for us as well. We have a whole brand new coach, a whole brand new staff. You're implementing a different system. Do the kids catch on? And I'm talking both sides now, Colorado and Nebraska. So I don't know about that one. I hope we get it done at Northern Illinois. I would hope we could get it done at Louisiana Tech. I think Michigan just comes in and curb stomps us. Illinois was really good last year. Really good. Brent Bielema is an amazing coach. He was 15 seconds short of knocking off Michigan last year. Northwestern is up and down, so I'm hoping we get a win there. Purdue, I feel we're evenly matched with Purdue. But again, whole new staff, whole new program. You're 3-4 games into the season. I hope we get a win there. At Michigan State, that's tough. Again, I hope Matt proves me wrong and we do get above 500. But man, Maryland was really good last year. They made it to a bowl game, I think, didn't they?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know for sure. But
Matt Rule has his work cut out for him.
Yep.
Is what I'm saying.
Yep.
So again, Matt Rule, I wish you all the best of luck. I really do. And I want you to prove me wrong. Please prove me wrong. Get us above 500. Get our kids back into a bowl game. Please.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have anything. I kind of looked at this day in sports, and I seen Gordie Howe has a birthday today.
Happy birthday, Gordie Howe.
And then kind of on a sad note, Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens passed away from lung cancer at the age of 66 on the day.
Oh, wow.
So talk about a guy who was kind of larger than just a great athlete, I mean, and doing it during the time period he did it,
I read that they
Olympics.
messed with him. They even stole his cleats during one track event.
That's what I mean. Just, but he won everything when he was doing it. He just beat everybody.
He did. Put his head down and went to work.
Yeah.
Put his head down and went to work. One quick Vince Lombardi quote, since you'd mentioned how one man was basically his own leader. Vince Lombardi said, "Leaders aren't born, they're made. And they are made just like anyone else through hard work." So let's be like Jesse Owens and go do some hard work. I'm Daryl for Blue Collar Sports Talk.
Roger.
Go watch some sports.